Why are you here?
I am here because I have a loathing hatred for the company Monsanto, which a lot of people don't know that Monsanto is actually just a chemical company and they have no business basically dictating our food supply. So I am here not just against Monsanto, but I'm also here because I'm for organic food. I'm for local farmers. I'm for family farms. I'm for treating animals with the utmost care and respect. And I'm also a vegan and I'm gluten-free. So I have a hard time finding food for myself. And if it's not organic, it makes me want to panic.
I'm out here to show my support and to maybe educate people on information that they might have not known about Monsanto, like how it was responsible for DDT, aspartame, Agent Orange, and other chemicals other than GMOs.
I'm out here because I've actually been working on the issue of genetically engineered foods for 25 years at the state, national, and I've done a lot of international work. So I was asked to come down here and speak.
I'm here because I'm concerned about the future of our planet. Genetically modified seeds don't reproduce naturally. And the more that you have around the world, the less land will have real seeds and real food. And I think that everybody deserves real food.
I'm here because I want to protect my family, my friends, and all people from being poisoned by genetically modified food.
I am out here today because the company Monsanto and the government have become one and the same thing.
I'm here to protest Monsanto and GMOs because I think it's important for the public to know what's in their food and what they're eating, because as much as we have a right to say what we want, we also have a right to know what we're putting into our bodies.
What's one fact about Monsanto or GMOs that concerns you the most?
I guess the fact that there's no required safety assessment before they're put on the market and they're not labeled, so that means people that are eating these foods, they're all part of a big experiment. There might not be a health impact, but there could be, and that's outrageous. We're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't require these foods to be tested before they're put on the market. That should be unacceptable.
They produced Agent Orange, which affected and maimed and destroyed the lives of millions of people in Vietnam. And we've had enough. They don't have to destroy our lives with their food.
Monsanto has been pushing for their GMO products on countries that don't want to use them, that have actually harmed places like Mexico, where their corn is genetically modified, their wild corn that's growing everywhere and harming people and the environment, and bees are dying, and Monsanto is responsible for all of that.
Well, Monsanto's monoculture agriculture is basically bad for the environment. The Roundup contains extremely high potent herbicide that's also bad for the environment. So, and it's getting washed up into oceans and our rivers, and that's why Monsanto's evil.
They spend over $8 million a year hiding their labeling on GMOs. They're responsible for 90% of the GMOs around the world, and they're banned in 30 countries and forced to label their products in 60 other countries.
I guess one fact about Monsanto that really blows me away is how they're able to sue small farms that somehow, get their GMOs in their product, and now these small farmers are going out of business just because they have, Monsanto has this patent on a GMO that you have a truck of corn blowing down a highway and somehow it gets in, Joe Schmo's farm, and now they're out of business, and you're forced to eat a GMO product, and there's nothing we can do about it.
The fact that they have their old lobbyists working for the FDA is terrifying.
People that either work for Monsanto go to work for the federal government, or they currently work for both, or they are just sitting on the board of directors. I think people would start to realize why we're not seeing any improvements in the labeling GMO movement. We're not seeing any improvement in organic farmers' situations. We're actually seeing a decline, and it's because people like Hillary Clinton sit on the board of directors of Monsanto. It's and that's why Bill Clinton during his administration was so supportive of Monsanto behind closed doors. So there is that revolving door, and that dictates the legislation, that dictates how big the monoculture industry gets. And so we go through the process of, oh, you want things to change, you have to vote against it, you have to vote for legislation that promotes or protects organic farmers and food. That's not going to happen. And so what we have to realize is that the only way to make a difference is not trying to get legislation passed, which is a noble effort, but rather we have to form a movement of refusal. We have to just say no. We have to refuse to buy GMO foods, processed foods, soy, and as hard as it is, as expensive as it is, it's much more expensive to get on big pharma prescriptions and end up in the hospital for cancer and other complications, pregnancy complications, and that's the thing. We just want people to have the choice. If you want to eat, McDonald's, eat McDonald's, but know that you're taking your own life into your own hands and at risk. So that's what it's about. It's about being informed, it's about being educated, having a choice, and if we don't keep fighting, we're not going to have any organic food left.
What would be a solution to this problem right now?
I hope that as a result of this march and rally and marches and rallies all over the country and all over the world, that Monsanto will be forced through popular action and hopefully through legislation also. Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal spoke earlier, and she introduced a measure in the New York State Assembly to, I believe it was to label GMOs, and hopefully legislation like that will pass. I mean, I think ultimately GMOs should be outlawed, but in the meantime, an interim measure that would be useful would be to label them, so at least people have a choice.
My answer isn't write your congressman because they're part of Monsanto. My answer isn't, talk to Hillary Clinton because she's on the board of directors. My answer is not talk to the FDA because the guy that runs the FDA is also was the vice president of Monsanto. My answer lies in what a lot of other countries have done, which is when you don't want something, you get rid of it. Countries like Peru, other places in South America, countries like France, they didn't want GMOs, so they didn't write their congressman. They ripped things out of the ground, they burned seeds, they literally regulated themselves. And America's not far enough along for that, and I completely understand that. But 2 months ago, 40,000 sugar beet crops were burned in Oregon. They were GMO. A couple weeks ago, $8 million worth of papaya was cut down, GMO, in Hawaii. Hawaii actually just banned GMO in the state. Not sure how well that'll hold up considering the federal government can overwrite state laws. So I guess I am out here to hopefully raise some awareness, talk to some more people, and get some people a little more angry about what's going on, and help people realize that writing the government isn't necessarily always the answer when the company you're fighting against is also the government.
Well, a solution to this problem would be to require these foods to be tested before they're put on the market and require them to be labeled. Because then the market could start to take care of this, because a lot of surveys show people are not interested in eating engineered foods.
I hope that they get the message that we're informed and we're not going to eat their crap anymore, and they better do something about it.
I want GMOs to be labeled. I'm not saying it needs to be completely removed from our food systems. We still have trans fats, but we need to know what we're eating.
I hope that people are more aware of the harmful effects of GMOs, and they understand that the chemicals that we ingest aren't good for us or the environment, and we stop doing that.
I hope labeling changes, because once something goes on a label, you kind of are forced to ask question, just like high fructose corn syrup, like what is that? Now you're able to look it up, but most people don't even know that your food is GMO, and so no one's going to question it.
What I hope changes is that enough people either start feeling the effects of GMOs and decide to change their lives while they still can. I mean, to me, it's like people waking up to the reality of cigarettes and how deadly they are. It's the same kind of game, It usually takes a generation for things to sink in. So my hope is by the time I'm in my 40s or 50s, 20 years from now, hopefully the bee population has not been destroyed, and people will just decide to say no to GMOs and they won't buy them, and this company maybe will either become obsolete or they will be forced to reface their entire corporation and abandon their chemical ways and adopt, an organic, I don't know, an organic food industry. But again, I think that's a bunch of pipe dreams. So I think the short-term, most practical notion is simply us getting it labeled so people know right now, and we can continue that dialogue, and we can try to get people to just choose organic. So that's my hope.
Fuck Monsanto! Thanks, Luke.
I'm out here today because I am just so fed up with the hypocrisy coming out of our own government. You know, it's like, where do you even begin to peel off the layers of hypocrisy here? The first thing...
Like many Americans, I'm really concerned with the destruction of our privacy rights and our liberties. And, you know, we want to be safe, okay, but I think Benjamin Franklin was right. It's the